Tonight marks 1 year since chaos erupted in downtown Birmingham. We all watched last year following the death of George Floyd. Tonight, our Brittany Dionne sitting down with the man once accused of starting the riot to look back at the night's impact. Brittany?
Well, that's right, Jonathan. That night will be forever etched in our memory. Tonight, comedian Jermaine "Funny Mane" Johnson reflects on the event that led up to that riot. We also check in with a business owner who says she almost quit because of the devastation. The night, May 31st, 2020.
No justice!
They're taking down the flag off the pole. They're about to set this flag on fire. The flag has been set on fire. They're breaking into the 24-hour Executive Health Club here downtown.
Downtown Birmingham, the epicenter of the civil rights movement, once again cradling the delicate yet ferocious demand for equality.
No justice!
But this time was different.
No justice!
Hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages left behind. And this man took the blame. But let's start from the beginning. Earlier that day, thousands gathered in Kelly Ingram Park for a rally that remained peaceful. But during a speech, Jermaine "Funny Mane" Johnson said this.
We need to tear something down tonight. They need to see Birmingham.
That something was a Confederate monument. As darkness fell, a growing crowd descended on Lynn Park, focused on taking down the obelisk erected there 115 years ago. But the attempt to remove the Confederate monument was futile, and the focus soon shifted downtown. Rioters smashing, vandalizing, and burning whatever they could. And on this day, 1 year later, Johnson sits down to provide answers for what happened.
Did you not think it would fire up the way it did?
When I made the initial speech, you heard me multiple times tell these people, do not tear up our city.
He says despite urging the crowd to focus on the monument and not downtown Birmingham, Johnson was charged with inciting a riot.
Other individuals showed up with different intentions other than mine. I'm just not talking about the people that threw rocks. I mean, people who are officials in the city. They showed up with different intentions, and that's why things went the way that they went.
Seeing what was left behind,
it hurt more than anything.
That same hurt felt by Dr. Wanaki Adams, the first black female optometrist in the state of Alabama. Her business was destroyed and looted.
4 windows broken and the door broken. It was overwhelming.
She says 2 other businesses in the complex were also targeted, both owned by black doctors. One has since shut down. Although Dr. Adams celebrated 40 years of practicing in 2020, the devastation almost pushed her to give up.
Well, I was thinking about retiring, but what this has done, it has rekindled my fire.
Since the riot, Adams has published 2 children's books, with a 3rd set to be released soon. She also upgraded equipment and started a mentorship program to encourage diversity in optometry. She says the outpouring of love from the community after the riot helped her move forward.
I looked out that door. It was so many people.
Acts of kindness like that of comedian Roy Wood Jr., who helped clean up the damage, and Jermaine "Funny Mane" Johnson, who she says donated money.
When you have a rainbow, you're going to have some rain. And I saw the civil unrest as the rain. But the outpouring in the rededication of my patients, the assistance of my friends and family, I saw that as the rainbow.
Seeing the positive outcome brings Johnson to tears.
You didn't have to do that to me, man. I love Dr. Adams so much.
But trouble continued to follow Johnson. He says he became a target of racist taunts and threats. He still faced charges of inciting a riot.
They eventually dropped the charges.
But when asked if the entire ordeal was worth it.
Every so often, we get out in the community, we have cleanup days. I think May 31st, 2020 was just a Lynn Park cleanup day. And there's still a few statues standing. And if you actually read that one over there, it says, "Remember the Maine." So I think the park looks really pretty now without that statue standing there. And hopefully, because of the efforts of last year, maybe people will remember the Maine.
Now, Jermaine "Funny Maine" Johnson is focused on continuing the fight for equality in Birmingham, as well as mentoring youth. In part 2 of this special report, Johnson weighs in on the removal of the monument. We also speak with Mayor Randall Woodfin and Attorney General Steve Marshall about the cost and the domino effect it's had in the removal of other monuments and statues in the state of Alabama. That airs Wednesday night. Jonathan.
Tonight marks a year since crews removed the Confederate monument downtown at Lynn Park.
And our Brittany Dionne digs into the contentious decision to remove it where it is now and the legacy left behind. Brittany.
That's right, Catherine. Jonathan, the city's decision to remove the Confederate monument has had financial ramifications, as it was against Alabama law, but it also sparked a movement of its own. America's deadliest war. More than 600,000 Americans died in the Civil War, sparked by Southern states' desire to continue slavery. 7 states, including Alabama, withdrew and formed a new nation, the Confederate States of America. Although the Confederacy lost the Civil War, today there are hundreds of Confederate monuments throughout the South. But this story is about one. And a few others. The Confederate Soldiers and Sailors Monument stood 5 stories tall for more than 100 years in Lynn Park. May 31st, 2020, following the death of George Floyd, protesters sought to tear it down. Protesters did not give up, hammering away at the monument, but the monument would not budge. However, 2 nights later, WBRC Fox 6 News was there when piece by piece the monument came down. Birmingham Mayor Randall Woodfin made the call to remove it.
And so walking out into that crowd, my attempt was to disperse all of those citizens who had all that anger bottled up and took it out on that statue. At the same time, I sympathized with them and told them, give me a minute and I'll get the statue down, because I actually agree with you. And so I think one of the biggest things we learned was when our citizens cry out, as elected officials, we should respond.
Where is the statue now?
It's in an undisclosed location.
A year later, Woodfin says he's still not comfortable telling us where the monument was relocated due to threats and public safety. The decision to have it removed was against the law, a violation of the Alabama Monument Preservation Act. The city was fined $25,000 and also faced another fine of the same amount for a previous violation committed by the previous administration in 2017. Attorney General Steve Marshall also filed a lawsuit against the city seeking additional fines. However, a spokesperson says both parties came to an agreement and the city was only on the hook for $50,000. A fundraiser came up with enough money to pay the fines in full with no cost to taxpayers. The money went to Attorney General Steve Marshall, who turned it over to the Alabama Historical Commission. But the story doesn't end there.
There was no national conversation about removing anything with the Confederate monuments or flags. But since that night, NASCAR has banned the flag. Mississippi has changed their state flag. Over 30 cities across the world have removed Confederate monuments.
According to Marshall's office, Mobile, Anniston, and Lowndes County each removed statues and were each fined $25,000 for violating the act. As more leaders began to remove Confederate memorials, Marshall released a warning to elected officials, telling them that they were breaking the law and he would seek damages.
It was the best decision to make. I would do it again.